Now I'm choosing this guy because he's big and it's a raw image. So we're in the raw plugin. Now we've talked about working in raw. So the basic idea is we've done our stuff over here. We're ready to open the image. There is one thing here you need to look at, and that's the bit depth down here. Now it says 16-bit channel. If you're going out to the internet or like Microsoft PowerPoint presentation or PDF document, you don't want this as 16-bit. So you would come in here and you would change that to 8-bit. But what if you forget that and you open it in Elements as 16-bit? Let's do that so I can show you where to change it there too. So we're ready to go, and we just come over here and say Open Image. Now, this image is huge. If I double-click on my zoom tool, that's one big piece of fungus. Let's go ahead and go back to the hand tool like that. First thing you should check is go up to the word image and go down to mode. And if you see 8-bit channels active, that means this is a 16-bit image. So the first thing you want to do if you didn't do it in RAW is do it here. Now you've cut the image down. It was 69. I don't know if you saw that. It was 69 megs. It's now 34. But still, please, is anybody out there going to put a 34 megabyte picture, say, on their homepage? Nobody's going to wait for you to download it. So it's still way too big. Let's go back up to the word image again, and let's concentrate on its size. Incidentally, notice mode now says 8-bit channels grayed out. That means it is an 8-bit image. Let's go into resize image size. Now this image is 4,288 pixels by 2848, and that's like way too big for what I want. Ignore what's going on down here. It has nothing to do with the internet. That number, not even that number. That can be 300. It's not going to make any difference. That's for printing. Up here is where you want to be. Now, if you don't see that available, it's because you don't have resample on down here. I've done a mock-up of my page. I know what I want. I know exactly how big my images need to be so they will fit like gloves, and it needs to be 500 pixels wide by 320 tall. Now, I want to keep it in proportion, so I'm going to turn this on down here, make sure that's on, and change this number up here to, say, 500. Now, notice it went from 500 and then 332. The size went down almost a half a meg, quite a bit, from 69 to begin with, 34 after we got it down through 8 bits, and now only 1/2 of a meg, but that is still too big for what I want to do. This number, again, don't worry about it. If you're printing, yes. If you're not, don't worry about it. It's still going to be the same size. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to go into Bicubic Sharper Best for Reduction before we click OK. Now, it's not really that big. Let's double-click the zoom tool, and there you go. That is exactly how big this thing would be if we chose to use this option. Now, the next thing that can really help us out here is basically either choosing a different color space or choosing the format like JPEG to save it. Let's look at both of those. If we go back up to the word image, you have an option for mode, and you have bitmap, grayscale, or indexed color. Now, this image is an RGB image. It's got 3 channels of 8 bits each, so it's 24-bit color, 16.7 million possible colors per pixel. If we go into index color, we have just taken the image from 16.7 million colors down to now a maximum of 256. And the way that kind of works in photography is you've reduced the image by 2/3 by doing this. But if you look at it, it actually looks pretty good. As a matter of fact, if I turn the preview off, I don't really see a difference. Now, you use a palette. The palette I choose for most photographs is perceptual because it gives me the perception through my mind and my eyes of the colors that are no longer there. So I like that one the best for photographs. Down here, you can force your primary colors. I don't force anything. Okay, let it do its thing. If you have transparency, and we don't, you could turn that on to preserve it. And then if you want to use a matte, if we had transparency, that would be there, to fill that in with a color. Dithering is how it patterns the pixels to present a smooth appearance between shifts and colors. And diffusion is probably the one that you want. It does the best job for photographs with an amount of about 75, and I'm not preserving exact colors. I'm letting it do its thing. Now, if you look over here, 486.3, if I click OK, 162. So we've got it down by 2/3. It becomes an indexed object. So I'm going to undo that. The reason I am is because I think the